Hey guys, welcome back to Tough Love with Dr. John O'Connor, my co-host Matt Calabria. Matt, let's talk about New Year's resolutions and how we're going to close out 2023 strong.
We back, baby. So, Doc, it's good to be back. Going into, late December, end of the year, what's your routine like now? What are you getting ready for transitioning from 23 to 24?
Wow, great question. 2023 is going to be a year that will ultimately be a book for me. It was transformation, it was evolution, it was discovery and, new concepts, new people, and also learning the importance of truth and being truthful with yourself. The biggest thing that I wish that I would have done more of in 2023 was being out in front of a lot of situations that have occurred and that are occurring as we speak. And I believe that it's something, I remember a coach saying to me, do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
And as we get older, I think the wisdom comes with age, but unfortunately when you're in it, it usually comes after the experience. So you got to take the lumps first. And so I would say, what 2023 was about: honesty, just being truthful with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's your business, your family, your personal, and what you want out of life, what you really want, as like looking in the mirror and saying, John, what do you want? Matt, what do you want? And then create that structure, create that realm of reality around that.
Right.
And I think that everybody is going to be more appreciative for that versus, people that are kind of going through the motions or living a lie or whatever you want to say. But I think that that's so important that you need to just really trust your gut. And, and if you really believe in it so much, you do whatever you can. And I think that's like our big push on our fitness video and campaign is, if you believe you can do it, go do it. Just get it done. Whether you have to walk, crawl, climb over it, run through it, run around it, dig under it, just keep going.
Right. Absolutely. Nailed it right there. And most people going into the end of the year, they, mention things what they're most grateful for, thankful for. I know, Johnny was just back from IMG. That was great. And he had the whole family home. What can you take out of that made you so grateful and so thankful?
You know what? Family's super important. And, with Johnny being out of the house this year, his first year down at IMG or, post-grad year playing baseball, having him home for Thanksgiving and now for an extended stay for Christmas, I'm thankful to have everybody in the house. And I think it was yesterday that, I was getting married and there was no kids. And now I'm looking at where is he going for the next 4 years for college, and Dakota's looking at schools, and I'm going, wow, all of a sudden, just like that, it's an empty nest. And you learn to appreciate that. Hey, when they're here, be present. Don't, be on your phone or be in your space. And it's tough, right? Everything we do right now is about driving out to the world and social media.
Right.
But the real shit happens here.
Yeah.
Right. And what's not posted out there, and it's funny, I heard a huge social media person talking about that his kids will get a little wonky with him posting them out to social media, and he's got to be respectful and catch the moments there. And my kids are the same way where, my son will be like, Dad, that was a crazy fit video. I'm like, oh, let's do it. He's like, hell no.
I'm out.
I'm like, and I laugh. I'm like, oh, that would be so great. I'm like, I know I'm not going to be fit like this forever. Let's go down, right. But I think that everything that I've experienced this year, good, bad, and indifferent, has created a great roadmap for what I see for 2024 and beyond, from coaching to how the practice runs to how many locations we have open or possibly closing. Because I have to be honest with myself, I think so many mistakes I made over the years, I probably didn't go back to the white vision board or the honesty board, if you will, and said, did you really want that? Was
Yeah.
that ego? Did you answer the way that you thought they wanted, or did you really answer to say what you really meant?
Right.
And I think my takeaway for 2023 is like, hey, shoot straight, and just say it. And whatever you say, be ready for the consequences, good or bad. Right. But just be honest again to yourself.
No,
Most
absolutely.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great. And I mean, I'm going to keep fueling off of that because hit fire there for a little bit. Most people ending the year, they feel like they're failing at something. And that's when New Year's comes, New Year's resolutions come. Advice you can give to your listeners right now on how they can finish 1 year strong and continue with momentum going into the following year.
Honesty in relationships. I think the biggest thing people lack, and speaking from the person sitting in this chair on this mic right now, is being honest with yourself and those around you that are close to you. And I think that even though it could hurt, being out front of something,
Yeah.
as opposed to being behind it and like digging your way out, is never a good place.
Right.
And, living that right now, I would say that the aftermath hurts so many more people. And, you're not going to proliferate. You're not going to hit your goals. You're not going to make the gains or the achievements you wanted to because of the honesty you didn't put forth, and whether we say, don't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do.
Yeah.
Well, you can apply that to anything: business, sports, life, relationships, and, I think right now, I know for me, for 2024, it's the vision of the best version of myself that people want to be around, that, our clients want to hire, family members want to be around, people, friends, new friends want to be like, that person is an amazing person. They come into a room and make it a better place. And I don't know if a lot of people say that, but I think through my lifetime, all the years I've coached people or treated people or, just feel like I've had a blessed life. I think sometimes we get away from that. And I think we hide in our failures or we hide in work. And I think the realization for me is that whatever and however this life is going to end up, I want to make it the most impactful version of it as possible. I want to be able to say when I'm on that last page, and one of our guests was talking about, she wants to be in her library and all her PTs.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I would love to know that if somebody was, at my funeral or we're sitting there saying, what an impact. And regardless of how it started and all the bumps along the way,
Yeah.
he never quit. He always kept going. And
Never give
whether
up.
successes or failures or mistakes, that the idea of wanting to be better, striving for people's respect, and love, devotion, even forgiveness in certain capacities. But they knew that the evolution of me was always there to say, even though he did something or didn't do this or didn't do that, he never quit on a situation.
Right.
And he, whether you walk away from it with dignity or you go back to it or whatever that case may be, I think it's all about just being honest and then communicating in a manner and that's hard. When you're speaking truth to people,
Takes a lot.
and you got to be honest and say something, and you could be hurting somebody's feelings. That's devastating. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you can be honest to somebody and blow them away, and they can't believe how kind you are.
Right.
But I think for me, 2024 is going to be a year of, just, self-awareness. And, I think 2023 was definitely self-care.
Yeah.
God knows I spent about 3 million hours on PEMF and everything else. And, but I think 2024 is going to be about just evolving to be a better person.
Right.
I think, a lot of people have said to me, and I was laughing, I was listening to that Eminem song. about
Lose yourself.
Well,
You only get one shot.
that's it. And you get one chance at the stick. And but I think a lot of people look in and they see what they see, but that's not reality. And the reality is what you really put out there and how you deliver it every single day. And I think if you're going to walk a path in life, whatever that is, you better damn well own it.
Right.
And so I think for 2024, it's going to be about just being prideful, being forthright, being, more sincere, and not, I don't expect everybody to get behind what I do, but I want them to respect it because they're, I think that if you try to make everyone happy, then you make no one happy.
It's not going to end well.
But if you make yourself happy and you deliver something that is a clear message, then people have to respect it. They don't have to like it, but they have to respect it, because I think when you chase happiness through somebody else's vision, it's never truly your own.
You'll never catch up to it.
Yeah.
Nailed it. And Doc, how do you recover from something like that? So what would you tell your listeners? They're stuck in a corner. Fighters got them down, throwing haymakers at them. Still got time left on the clock in the round. How do they come back from falling down when they feel like there's negativity and no supporters around them?
I'm living it. One day at a time. And, when it comes to be a fight or, you're just taking a beating, that's everyone in life. At a certain point, life is not always strawberries and whipped cream. And I think the biggest thing you can do in those situations for those around you is try to have a moment with them individually. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I'm learning, and it is definitely tough love, is I think when you're hurting, you tend to express what's going to fix you selfishly. But it's not always about you, is it? Right? It's about fixing the situation and being in a situation that is healthy and is productive for everyone.
Yeah.
So if you told me in a situation where I was in a corner and I was getting beat up and knocked down, you get one shot here. And I've always liked Rocky Balboa, and I've always liked the Proverbs, knock down 7 times, get up 8.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids that, and I've lived that through all my injuries, through failures in business and right now, and I think to say that, this is lessons am I done learning lessons? No, I'm in one right now. Still moving. And my goal is to just be as focused as possible and, just be honest, and I think that plain and blunt honesty is something that is a separator from a lot of people.
Right.
And I can't always say, the funny thing about it is 2023 for me was definitely a year to remember. And I think that, I lost myself in certain ways and then I found myself in certain ways. But, if it was about being in a corner and getting knocked down, I have no intent to stay down. If anything, I've always said whenever I've gotten hit or hurt in an athletic event, that was the worst mistake someone's ever made.
Right.
Because the minute I get a little taste of blood on my tongue, I'm like, let's go.
You already got 12 bruises. What's an extra bruise when you're trying to get up?
Yeah. And you got to get up and keep going.
Yeah.
And I think, probably the biggest thing that I would tell people in a podcast like this is, when you hurt people, your staff, your employees, your employer, your loved ones, your spouse, your kids, we're all human. We all make mistakes. And we get caught up in this crazy thing we call life.
Right.
But if you can communicate and express the why of what you thought was happening in the most honest way you can, that's the best thing you could do. And then it's time, right? And you're not going to fix everything. But I think that if you can be patient and you could be kind and you can take time to explain to people, what's going on, I think that you come from a better place. And I think that genuinely people will relate.
Right.
they'll probably be blown away by your honesty, but
Yeah.
they can relate to it.
Right. No,
So-
absolutely. And that comes down to too with outside opinions trying to come in, right? When people stay in their lane, they get too many people that are telling them they can't do this, they can't do that. I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. What would you tell everybody about staying in their own lane? Keep focused and try to black out that outside noise.
Again, Eminem and I have been hanging out a lot. And, and I've always been a hip hop head, and I'll be working out to him in a little bit at Iron Revolution later. And I have to tell you that, you're going to have people chirping, as my son would say.
Yep.
And you have to kill the noise, and you can hear them, but it's an opinion, right? It's their interpretation of the situation. You have to be true, and you have to be able to interpret your feelings and emotions. And most times in those situations, the tough love is going to be from people that some people are going to say some stuff that is real and it's going to hurt. And usually the stuff that hurts is real.
Yeah.
But the truth of what got them there, they may not understand. And I think that that's probably the biggest lesson that we do learn in life when we look back at situations that, the job where you came from, or, where you're at now, or whatever employment things, and your perception of what it was versus what it really was.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I think that where I'm at right now, as we're developing the coaching business and we're looking at a state for stuff and how we're evolving our business here and relationships and everything that's going on, it's about taking a deep look and saying, hey, John O'Connor, what do you want? What's your vision? You're going to be 50 next year. What's your plan? Where do you want to be at 50, 51? Where do you want to be at 55? What's the role you want to play to the people around you? How do you want them to be around you? Who do you want to be around you? And what's your action plan? And the one thing what I realized that our campaign with, our podcast, Tough Love, has been rituals, routines, and we're constantly broadcasting to our community, our audience, and our listeners, and hopefully the new listeners that we're gaining. It's like, hey man, I can't tell you everything that I've done is right. For damn sure, I know I've made a lot of mistakes.
Right.
But what I can tell you is everything happens for a reason. And that I believe. And you have to take a close and deep look at everything you do and then say, where do I see myself? Where do I see myself right now? Where do I see myself next year? And, and then ultimately, just like when we were, in attendance at your wedding, what makes you happy?
Yeah.
And that why right there, you guard that with everything you got.
Right.
So I think going back to being in the corner and you're getting knocked down, I think as you're guarding yourself and you're saying, I'm not staying down, you got to think most what makes you happy and fight for that.
Yeah. 100%. I'm a firm believer in that. And there's always lessons learned, good or bad too. Out of this one, Doc, what's the biggest lesson you think everyone's learned from this podcast?
Whew. You know what? I think this is one of those podcasts you're going to look back at. And as we evolve and develop in, not just local New Jersey and Monmouth County, but nationally and globally, people are going to realize that life is about experiences, good and bad, and truths and lies, and lies we tell ourselves that we think are true.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that the takeaway from today is just about whatever your goals are going to be or whatever your New Year's resolution is, make sure it's focused on happiness, a vision of what you want to become, evolution of who you want to become. Write a list of what you like about yourself and what you don't like about yourself. Then have an action plan to change that. And I think that if you put that together, it doesn't have to be January 1. That's something we should be doing every day, every month,
gain
every
momentum.
I love listening to that podcast. And I think all my friends, like-minded friends, were bouncing around Ed Milet's podcast of that, season of separation.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. Like, why wait to January 1, right? Like, I was a little derailed this last 5 or 6 weeks. And I think that my big push right now is going to be refocus on less alcohol, more water, better meal quality, better nutrition,
Recover, recharge, repeat.
yeah. And, launching a new business, we got to get down to Florida and get that done, and our coaching platform, and giving even better care at all our Velocity Performance Centers, and creating a team, and putting them in an environment that they can thrive and succeed and excel beyond their wildest expectations. And I think that if we touch 80% of that, we'll create a magical life for myself and everyone around us. 100%. And I think that, staying true to that and that mission, and then what makes you happy and your why, is something that each of us needs to do.
Yeah.
And I think that whenever I'm listening to people that really inspire me, they all say the same. There's always the same message. And we've heard it through teachers throughout the years. We've sat in classrooms. You forget 80% of what you hear, right? And then that 20% that kind of sticks in there. But like 99% never gets utilized unless you write it down and you commit it and put it into play,
right?
And you do something
Make
with
it happen,
right? And I think that for me, that's really going to be what the mission is for, seeking clarity and, and developing a better sense of, self-awareness, managing emotions better, and just being a better leader in 2024 in all counts.
Yeah.
I think I love, what's out there in social media, obviously, and in movies have really taken a great Disney approach of, not all of them, obviously there's a lot of stuff out there that's wasted time, but, I think it's so important when it's the truth of being successful. You want to be successful on multiple fronts. You want to be a great leader at home, at work, with your friends. And sometimes being a great leader is being able to take a step back.
Right.
And let someone else lead and develop and have a greater sense of self-worth and all those kind of things. And so I had a lot of work to do. I feel like, this year, as I'm approaching 50 years young, I feel like it's, I'm in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
I feel like, I've really come to terms with how to keep my body healthy and take care of it. And there's so much more work to do. So I think the message of this podcast uniquely is create a plan. Start it now. Don't wait till you're hungover, waking up on New Year's Day saying, This is what I'm going to do. And you're joking around and you go join a gym or you go for a half-ass workout.
Stop in February.
Yeah. Quit in February, 20 something days later and you're done. But have that plan and stick to it. And I don't care what you're working towards. If you do that, I promise you 2024 is going to be the year of your lifetime. And that's going to be my goal. Lots of changes, there's going to be good changes, bad changes, old habits, new habits. Creating new habits, creating new pathways, and just really creating the best version of myself and for those around me and for myself.
Right.
And just making everybody feel like they're so important that are in my life.
Awesome.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today on Tough Love. Matt and I really brought it to you today from the heart. And, we really didn't pull any strings here. We were really talking about truths and life. And, it's not always a storybook ending. And sometimes it could be. The biggest thing that I would tell you is all about truth and how hard you work. And if you really want something, wherever that why is, don't chase it until you catch it, and just never quit. All right. Please, if you like our message and what we're speaking about, what we're talking about, please share it on our platform. We'd love to see you guys and join us for more podcasts in the future. Thank you so much.